How Soon Is Now by The Smiths is a really unique song for so many different reasons. It sounds very different from many other Smiths songs and was originally released as a B-side, but still has gone on to influence so much music that came after it. Today we're going to be diving into this incredible song, the production, the questionable release, and what makes this song so special. Hello there, it's Warren Hewitt here. Hope you're doing marvellously well. Welcome back to another episode of this series, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when we have a new video. And of course, if you go to producelikeapro.com and sign up for the email list, you'll get a whole bunch of free goodies. If you look at the Smiths' discography from their time as a band between the years 1982 and 87, there's a lot to love. There's no question the Smiths have had a lasting impact on music, becoming almost like a rite of passage for many teenagers of multiple generations. Their albums Meat is Murder, The Queen is Dead, Strange Ways Here We Come, and their self-titled debut are just incredible classic albums. But in between each of these major releases are many singles that, to Smiths fans, hold just as much importance. And if you go right into the middle of their career, 1984 to 85, there's one particular song that is so unique, so influential, and so frustrating that we need to talk about it. That song is How Soon Is Now, the song that should have been a bigger hit, but went on to be a favorite of Smiths fans everywhere. The head of Heir Records famously called it the Stairway to Heaven of the 80s, and Smiths guitarist Johnny Marr has described it as possibly our most enduring record. It's most people's favorite, I think. Before we talk about the unfortunate way this song was released or its lasting influence, let's dive right into the guitar of this song and see what makes it so incredible. So to get this guitar part approximately right, I'm using my Carl Martin tremolo vibe fairly aggressively. The depth is turned up full, so if you hear this chord. So Johnny Marr and John Porter have slightly different recollections of how they did this. So it just gives you this sort of movement. It's a headphone song, it really is. Put on headphones and you'll hear these guitars just kind of pumping against each other. It's absolutely incredible. So the part is relatively straightforward, but there are loads of beautiful overlays of guitars in this. There's an octave line mirroring the chords, which is just gorgeous. But the main part is capo on the second fret, or capo for the Americans. So we get an F sharp with an E shape. And you've got to play in time with the trem. If you don't, it's just a cacophony. And the chord sequence is beautiful. It's just the F sharp through the verse with the G and the A shape. Of course, that's F sharp, A, and B, but it's an E shape, G shape, and A shape. When the chorus comes in, I love the rhythm because it pushes to the second chord each time. You've got the A shape, which of course would be the B, C shape, which of course would be the D, the G shape, which of course would be an A, and then a D shape, which sounds like he's got the F sharp ringing on the top there, which of course would be the E. And then there's the C sharp shape, which presumably would be a C sharp minor, but there's no minor third in it because you've got the F sharp on the top here. And then goes back to the D shape, which of course is the E major. So this is the full chorus part. And it's pretty incredible that a doubled trem guitar sound on one E major shape can be such an iconic riff. The only other thing to talk about is the simple slide riff. So listening to this is interesting because you hear the C sliding down to the B, so you get this. But you also hear the G sharp the whole time. So it's got to be an overdub because you have the G, But if you slide down and take the G sharp with it, it's a cacophony. It just doesn't feel good. The G sharp is staying there through all of those chords. So it's an interesting thing. There's a lot of guitar overdubs in this. There's even a point when you're listening with the tremolo on where it feels like he's hammering on very occasionally on the F sharp chord. So a couple of times you hear this. But it's only a couple of times. It's really, really super cool. I can tell there's a lot of beautiful layering of guitars, and it really makes this song very, very special. It was July of 1984 when the Smiths recorded the single William, It Was Really Nothing at London's Jam Studios. During those 4 days of recording, guitarist Johnny Marr presented a demo for a song called Swamp. Whereas most songs by the Smiths use frequent chord changes, this new demo was built largely around a single chord, F sharp. This demo would become the song How Soon Is Now. As a fan of funk and blues and bands like James Brown and the Meters, producer John Porter loved this idea. The band began to jam on this, building a song out of this guitar riff. The funk-like influence was nothing new for Johnny Marr. As a kid, while all of his other friends were into Jimi Hendrix, he was obsessed with a song called Disco Stomp by the artist Bohannon. Johnny Marr's love of this song and the guitar part led him to discover Bo Diddley, who was, as he described...
So, yeah, and then as I got older and I realised that that came from this guy, Bo Diddley, who invented his own beat. I mean, to have a beat named after you, so it's a... which is pretty happening. And... so then when the Smiths came to do How Soon Is Now, I demoed this song and it just used to go. And I knew it was a good demo.
Johnny Marr and producer John Porter then took this Bo Diddley strumming pattern and added some tremolo to it. Exactly how they did this is debated between the two of them. As Johnny Marr recalls, the tremolo effect came from laying down a regular rhythm guitar part with a capo at the 2nd fret on a Les Paul, then sending that out into a live room to 4 Fender Twins. John was controlling the tremolo on 2 of them, and I was controlling the other 2. Whenever they went out of sync, we just had to stop the track and start all over again. It took an eternity. However, in August of this year, 2020, producer John Porter wrote in Guitar World magazine to let them know that wasn't quite right. As Porter describes it, so I think the initial guitar was a jazz chorus, just doing a stereo Roland jazz chorus thing, and a DI. Then I put the jazz chorus through a noise gate on the drum and triggered it with a cowbell, and that gave us the basis of the tremolo. At some point, we put the DI out through the Fender Twin. I remember there were 3 twins, but Johnny remembers there was 4. Regardless of how exactly it was accomplished, this guitar part is incredible. It's amazing to think how much work they had to put into this, because this exact effect hadn't existed before. The closest version of this effect would be the Rolling Stones cover of a Bo Diddley song, Mona. Let's take a listen. The difference here is that with How Soon Is Now, this tremolo effect is in stereo through multiple amps at slightly different speeds, giving a new spin on the older guitar genre and creating one of the most iconic song beginnings ever. The idea for the slide guitar part came because lead singer Morrissey didn't like having background vocals on any Smith songs, so John Porter got an idea. I started thinking, well, if the Beatles have done this, then they would have done some oohs and ahs, or something at that point of the song. So I would get Johnny to do a guitar part that would be the equivalent of having a backing vocalist. This slide guitar part was run through a harmonizer set at multiple intervals up and down, and this gives an incredible effect during the song. John Porter also alleges that he played one of the slide guitar parts. Johnny Marr disputes this, but it's hard to know who's right in this. These recording sessions involved a lot of marijuana. The results sound incredible, they're just not totally sure how they got there. Lastly, the song You've Gotta Believe by rapper Lovebug Starsky played a big influence on Johnny Marr and this song. Just listen to the synth line of You've Gotta Believe compared to the harmonic guitar line from How Soon Is Now. Johnny Marr specifically wanted to reference this song as a response to critics who thought the Smiths were 1960s revivalists. This Bo Diddley stereo tremolo guitar, background vocalesque slides, and rap song melodic lines are mixed in with additional ad-lib guitar lines back in the mix. Plus, add a solid bass and drums from Andy Rourke and Mike Joyce. John Porter placed the mics at varying distances to give a swampier sound to the track. As he recalls, then I programmed a Lynn drum percussion loop and we brought in Andy Rourke and Mike Joyce and they played to them. I remember saying to Mike, just try and hold the groove down. Don't worry about fills or anything. We rehearsed it for a few minutes and then recorded 2 takes. I edited the best bits of each take together. They came back and listened and everybody, apart from Morrissey who wasn't at the studio, said, oh yeah, this is great. Morrissey reportedly came in the next day with his big book of lyrics and completed his vocals with just 2 takes. And as always, his vocals did not disappoint. How Soon Is Now doesn't feel like a typical song by the Smiths. It's simpler, it's more atmospheric, and ran almost 7 minutes long. This was exciting for the Smiths, and producer John Porter felt because it was so different, it was a fresh and new direction for the band. Jeff Travis, head of Rough Trade Records, wasn't so optimistic. He felt the song wasn't representative of the Smiths' sound, so he reluctantly agreed to release it only as a B-side, and under the condition that it would be remixed. John Porter remixed How Soon Is Now at Eden Studios, and found it easier to refine the mix with the computerized decks with an SSL. As he recalls, so I did the mix again. I was quite at home with an SSL. You could plug it all in to be triggered by the dynamics. So lots of the stuff was being triggered by the drum machine. Every time you would hear this particular drum, it would open a gate and send to an echo, which would then go off to a delay. I was setting up these incredibly complex chains of a stutter at a level that as soon as you could just hear it, that was as loud as I would make it. On August 20th, 1984, the single William, It Was Really Nothing was released, and its B-side was How Soon Is Now. Soon, nighttime DJs like the great and very influential John Peel, Janice Long, and Anne Nightingale began playing it, and within just a few months, it had gained massive popularity. In November 1984, How Soon Is Now was released in the US under Sire Records, peaking at number 36 on the charts, and it was re-released as a single in the UK in January 1985, reaching number 24. The single version was shortened from almost 7 minutes down to just over 4. This was a disappointment to the Smiths and John Porter alike. They thought this was going to be a much bigger hit, and their label had blown it. A decade later, Jeff Travis finally admitted the label's mistake, stating, "Maybe you could say we made a mistake not releasing it as the A-side of William, It Was Really Nothing." On top of this, it was 1985, the golden age of MTV. But the Smiths had never made a music video. So without their knowledge, Sire Records commissioned a music video, giving the instructions, find some performance footage and put a girl in it. This is exactly what they did. And when the Smiths found out and saw the video, they hated it, causing further drama with their American label. Morrissey pushed back, telling Sire Records, "You can't possibly release this degrading video." And they said, "Well, maybe you shouldn't really be on our label. it was quite disastrous. As disastrous and disappointing as the release of the song was, How Soon Is Now was too good to be ignored. Smiths fans picked it up immediately, and it still remains one of the Smiths' most well-known songs. Upon hearing it for the first time, Jeff Buckley noted, "The first time I heard How Soon Is Now, I can remember things changing in myself. The song completely blew everything away. It was the first time I ever heard writing like that over music like that. It influenced me because the writing was so great, because Morrissey's lyrics were so great in such a way. I don't know, just like completely freaky, unique." How Soon Is Now is listed as one of the greatest songs of all time by publications like Rolling Stone, NME, Pitchfork, Blender, and Q Magazine. As amazing as this song is, it is notoriously difficult to play live, and the Smiths only performed it a handful of times as a band. Smiths bassist Andy Rourke called it the bane of the Smiths' live career. It's very interesting to see how Johnny Marr and Morrissey approached this song now. While Morrissey has the guitar replicating the tremolo effect, Johnny Marr leans more on the Bo Diddley strumming pattern. There's so many layers to this guitar part. It's fascinating to see how they each try to recreate the magic that they captured in the studio in 1984. I just want to say, on June the 10th, 1984, I saw the Smiths play live. It was at Jubilee Gardens and it was a GLC-free festival. And I managed to squeeze right to the front. And I stood there, Morrissey was there, and Johnny Marr was over there. And it was an incredible concert. Really, really great time, and it's something I will remember for the rest of my life. Thank you ever so much. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe. Check out the other videos in this series, and we'll see you all again very, very soon.